Well, from cultural crossroads to combating catastrophes, is something that many in the business world may prefer not to think about. But how ready are they to handle the breakout of a war or even a natural disaster? Well, the topic is made ever the more relevant as parts of the Middle East remain deep in the grips of conflict. This topic of business continuity will be highlighted this week at the 3rd Middle East Business Continuity and IT Summit. Now, one of the event's organisers and an expert on business continuity, Dhiraj Lal, joins us now. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you. Well, certainly fascinating subject. When we talk about continuity, business continuity, what exactly do you mean by that?
As the word says, business continuity really says the business must continue, which really means that come what may, things must work. And you can't have a situation where you tell someone, sorry, I can't do this, because that's reputation, that's loss financial, and that's a whole bunch of other things. It's just non-professional. So particularly the UAE has taken a view that as a country we will work. And the UAE is very strongly pushing business continuity to really say, we are a country you can rely upon, we are a country that will function, and come what may, we will not let you down. And I think that's a great statement.
So how prepared do you think we are here? Because it seems like maybe some of the bigger companies have tapped into this, but some of the smaller agencies are particularly maybe not as thorough, because a lot of this is time, a lot of this is money too.
Right. Well, you're absolutely correct. There are some very logical ones where you cannot afford a breakdown, like telecom, for example, or power. And certainly those people have been up the curve much earlier and have got pretty far. There are others where it's relatively new, the concept is still carrying on, but importantly what the UAE is really pushing is not just resilience in organizations as such, but resilience across the community and resilience across the country. So the fact is the country should still continue to function, and there are various providers who will need to do individual provide products and services to make sure that happens. So as a whole ecosystem, the UAE is committed to saying we are a country that will really work.
What are some areas that potentially we need to work a little bit harder on when it comes to something like this? What still needs to be put in place?
Well, I think the prime thing is just that any new concept will take time to percolate. People need to understand what's important. So there's a concept cell of what is exactly, as you said, what is business continuity. And then at some stage the penny drops and people say, aha, okay, now I understand. And then how do you implement that within your community or your organization or the ecosystem as a whole? So then there's the next stage of, now that I understand what I would like to do, how do I really do it? What's the design? I liken it to creating a house. It's all very nice to say this is the house I want, but you can't just start building a house yourself. You typically discuss that concept with a few people, you fine tune your thoughts, you then get clarity about what you're really wanting, and then you approach someone who specializes in this and saying, this is what I want. Let's do this together, and one fine day you have your dream house.
I hope so. There's a process in place, there's a checklist.
Yeah.
What about some real life examples?
The first real life example that really hit the world was the World Trade Center 9/11 attacks. And that's truly when people said, wow, something like this can happen. When it does happen, you do need a plan. The statistics tell us that there were about 750 odd companies in World Trade Center that day. 18 months later, about 60% had actually closed. Now there were two reasons why they closed. One could be just a very small office manned by just a few limited people. They lost everything. They lost the people, they lost the account records, they lost their payables, they didn't even know who would they get money from. That's it. End of story. The others were actually larger organizations who operated from that premises but just went out of business for about 2-3 weeks, and then one fine day came back to the customer and say, we're back. And the customer said, yes, we love you and we'd love to deal with you, but sorry, we aren't putting all our eggs in one basket anymore.
But how do you prepare for everything? Obviously you can't have all bases covered. What do people need to look at in terms of, is it about putting a certain amount of budget aside to deal with something like this?
That's a great question. So in order to implement it, yes, you will need a budget.
What percentage wise would you say?
You can't actually put, it depends on size and scale of the organization, but I think the point I will really make is that the budget that you put in place is minuscule compared to the potential benefits. So let's not look at the budget as an absolute expense. Let's really look at what you're saving by virtue of investing that. But coming to your question, there are two critical decisions that most entities would need to take. And I'm not saying organizations, because it's organization individuals. We do it ourselves in our personal lives, but we don't do it consciously. We perhaps do it unconsciously, and communities. But importantly, the first thing you really need to look at is what could actually go wrong, what could create an outage, what could create a situation where we are unable to deliver what people expect from us. And the second is, if that did happen, what do I need to do to very quickly get back and satisfy that demand? Having said that, there is an assumption that you probably can't get back from 0 to 100 immediately. It's a gradual process. And therefore, the other thing you look at is, what's the bare minimum I need to do? And by when do I need to do it? And what do I really need to do?
There's quite a long to-do list there. Of course, a lot of this is going to be covered at the big conference.
It sounds like magic, but it works, actually.
So what, in terms of the conference this week, because it's going to be going into it in more detail, what are you most looking forward to see there this week?
There's been a demand. I mean, we are service providers in this area. We train, we consult, we assess. And there's been a constant request from people saying, let's network with the overseas world. Let's figure out what's happening globally. The UAE is integrated with the world in all other aspects. Let's make sure it's also integrated with the world of business country that's out there. So let's take advantage of what's happening globally. As well as the UAE, in fact, is leading the Arabic world, certainly in BCM as far as the Arabic translation is concerned. Not just translation, I would say Arabic implementation. I do have out here the UAE standard in business continuity, and I must commend the leadership of the country. The wise leadership actually have come out and said BCM is something that we really need to do. So they've come out with an Arabic standard, which is the first in the Arabic world.
Wow.
And the intent of this is exactly, as you said, to try and accelerate the process, because this enables literally everyone in the whole region to start understanding all these issues of the what's that you really mentioned.
Absolutely.
What and the how.
I think we've got a bit of bedtime reading this evening. Those books are looking fairly thick. But of course, our conference will be taking place this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck there.
Thank you.